Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andy from Magoo Investing. Happy Monday. I was not planning on making a video today. I was going to be doing some research for a longer video that's going to come out towards the end of this week, talking about my guide to investing in weed stocks. But based off of the news that we had this morning, I wanted to talk about kind of why the market's moving like this and how I'm planning on playing this going forward, because this was some massive news. And this is probably the most movement that I've seen in the overall market for a long time at this point. I know the Russell 2000 got stopped out this morning because it had a 7% move to the upside. So far, it's around 10:45 when I'm recording this. The market is falling a little bit after this huge pop in the morning. But I know when the Dow opened this morning, it was up around 1,200 points. And that is a ridiculous move to the upside. And what's even more interesting is that the discrepancies that we've seen in the market for the past, I don't know, how far into the pandemic are we? Like 6 months? The discrepancy that we've always seen, the tech stocks, the NASDAQ, outperform the overall market significantly. But so far today, the Dow Jones is up around 2.5% more than the other indices. And it's really interesting. And so someone like myself that does have a decent amount of the reopening stock, stuff that I've talked about, that if things start going better and we get some vaccine news like we did today, I was going to do very well. And so my portfolio is up significantly today, even though Sonos, which is around half of my overall portfolio size, is down around 3%. So while this is not financial advice and you have to do your own research before making any investment decisions, I do want to talk about how I'm going to be playing this going forward, because this is the biggest move that we've seen in the market since it feels like, I don't know, June, April. It has been a long time since we've seen a move like this. And so far on Monday, the stocks that are doing very well are the beaten down stocks. This is stuff I've talked about for the past couple months as being my best bet going forward. Now, as we get this huge boost, how would I be playing this for the next couple weeks? While this news is absolutely fantastic, Pfizer came out with vaccine news saying that their trials have had 90+% success at this point, which is fantastic news. Something that we've all needed to hear for a long time. However, this is not fully ready yet. There's still a lot that can happen before the FDA comes out and allows it to be readily used. And so this is great news. This is a little bit bigger of a jump in the stock market that I was kind of expecting. And so we're kind of seeing that in the intraday play as the stocks are starting to sell off a little bit. Maybe people are profit taking a little bit. But going forward, I'm a little bit more cautious at this point. I'm thinking about getting out some of my funds and some of the top stocks that I've had. I've talked about how Sonos might be a position that gets taken away from me. And if it does, I'm going to be very heavily invested into cash. And at this point, I'm not seeing a lot of great opportunities. Even though I've been kind of conservative for the past couple weeks with how I've been playing the market, this is a great example of why it's always a good idea to keep your money in the market. We talked about this the very beginning of the pandemic, that while things look bad right now, we know the long-term trends of the overall stock market. And so I have the most amount of cash that I've ever had in my portfolio, around 20%, but I was still able to take advantage of this major move to the upside. And this is probably my best day in the stock market so far this year. Going forward, I still think a lot of these reopening stocks are great options for long-term investments, but I'm personally looking to add to some of these positions. But I'm hoping to see, we're going to hop on the computer in a second. I'm going to show you specifically how I'm going to be trying to trade something like a Southwest or a Planet Fitness, because based off the moves today, they have been great catalysts to get through some support and resistances. And so I see some great opportunities, but I think I'm not going to be making any moves this week. The election is officially, it's been called, but we're going to have some problems with that in the next couple weeks. But right now, I'm going to wait for the market to sell off for probably the rest of the week, because this is a ridiculous move to the upside, and we're probably going to see a lot of profit taking. And that should give some decent discounts. Obviously not anywhere near what they looked like last week, but now that we've seen some positive news with the vaccine, I think the reopening stocks are just going to be killing it for the next couple weeks. So now let's hop on over to the computer, and I'm going to show you 3 stocks that I currently own and how I'm going to be trading them going forward, because these moves today have given a lot of momentum to some stocks that have been pretty horizontal for a while. I'm really excited to show you some really interesting things that I saw on the chart. So let's hop on over there and I'll show you what I've seen. So with today's news, we're going to be able to talk about the charts, and there's been some really interesting things. The first one I wanted to point out is going to be on Southwest Airlines, ticker symbol LUV. And the thing I wanted to point out, and is why I love technical analysis so much, is that Southwest for the longest time has been unable to break through this $40.50 mark. It's tried once, twice, 3 times, It now came up here for the 4th time on Friday, and I had this as an alert set just to kind of see what was going to happen. On this channel, I always talk about when you have a solid resistance like this, usually the way that you break through that is with a major news event, or most likely it's going to be earnings, because earnings are a great way to give a catalyst and give enough momentum behind a stock to break through a solid resistance. With today's move up, it has broken through that area. And so it's really interesting. You see this red candle here. So what this means is it gapped up to 46.87 when it opened this morning, and it has fallen for the rest of the day down to 44.77. So it does look like it's not holding that upper area, but based off of this move to the upside, it has broken through this resistance. And so the next thing I'm going to look for is going to be a retest. I think the momentum is going to fade from mainly all the market. I think this was great news from today, but I don't think it's going to hold these level of double-digit moves across the market. So I'm going to be looking for it to drop down to here. And I think this is a fantastic buying opportunity if it does come down to this level. It'll likely retest this because, as I always say, previous resistances act as supports in the future. So I want to see it come down to that. But based off of this move to the upside, fantastic to get out of that resistance, and we finally get some upward momentum. Next stock I want to look at is going to be Sonos, ticker symbol SONO. So I do have 2 options that will be expiring on, I think, the 20th of this month at the $15 strike price. And the really interesting thing is this stock has gone horizontal for a long time. And from today's move, I don't think it really had anything to do with the vaccine news. I think it mainly just came from overall selling in the market, partially from the news, also because it's at this solid resistance. It has tried to break through this level once, twice, 3 times, and so far it's getting rejected at this point. So even though I only have around 10 days until my contract expires, looks like it's going to be pushing down, and it seems pretty short-term bearish. So I feel very good about my position, that it's going to expire worthless. And then the last stock I wanted to talk about is going to be Planet Fitness. So one of the things that I always take a look at is whenever we have major news and its stock gaps down, I want to see a gap fill. This happens almost all the time. And with today's move up, if you'll notice, it has come back to this gap area and has been unable to hold that upper area that it reached this morning. So while it is still positive on the day, we have now gotten to a potential resistance. So if I was going to be trading this for a shorter term position, I would likely be selling right here. Obviously, this is an 18% move to the upside, absolutely massive. But I think likely we're going to see some selling off if it cannot push through this resistance right here. This is getting closer to all-time highs, which is not something you can say about like a Southwest Airlines or something like that. But I think from this move up, if it cannot hold and break above this $80 mark, I'm short-term bearish, but this is going to be a long-term position, as I've always mentioned. But I think short-term is going to be on the way down. So based off of the summary from what I've talked about, short-term bullish on Southwest, and then I'm going to be short-term bearish on Planet Fitness and Sonos. And so I love days like this where you get a catalyst that moves the market because it always shakes things up. But this is the reason why I do technical analysis, because it always comes back into play based off of previous price movement. So yeah, that's what I was watching in the market today. So overall, this video didn't really have any overall theme. I just kind of wanted to lay out how I'm feeling. This is a very good thing for not only the stock market, but just everyone in general. The pandemic, the numbers that we're seeing, we're breaking records every day, which is never a great thing. Going into the holidays, pretty worried about that. But this is some great news. Obviously, we're not anywhere near having a full-scale vaccine ready to be administered to the general public. But this is great news. We haven't heard anything this good in a long time, and that's why the stock market is reacting this crazy so far on Monday. So I'm expecting to see some selling off the rest of the week, a lot of profit taking, but this is a great sign and probably the most hope that the overall world has had for a vaccine since this thing started. So let me know how you're feeling about the overall market. Are there any stocks that you're looking to buy in? Maybe something like a Zoom, a Netflix, Spotify, stuff that was down significantly today, because many of the hardest hit stocks were a lot of these stay-at-home stocks that have done so well so far in 2020. So let me know what you guys are watching going forward. I'm excited to bring you another week of content, and I will see you in the next video.